Okay, I want to call the meeting to order. As I think I said in an email, Ken Robichaud's on vacation this week, and Will DeWitt was not going to be available today, so again, we're going to have to reschedule the tour. I'll try to get in touch with them both before our next meeting to see if we can arrange that.
Real quick, Steve, when we do get to do the tour,
Yeah.
how will we be doing that? I'm sure it's not on foot.
No, they have buses of four-wheel vehicles and so forth. I think there'll be a couple of vehicles we'll have to take. As we know, there's probably close to 700 acres of forest land here. We're not going to do all of that, but I think we're going to just hit a couple of pieces and also drive around the farm. I think that's probably going to be the extent of the tour. You may know more about this than I do, Amanda.
Well, you did ask me to set it up.
Yes, okay.
There is an old ski area and up by the water tower.
Okay.
So that I thought was some interesting.
Yeah.
There are some other interesting historical sites.
Yeah,
That I thought we would go touring on. And the hope was that we could use a pickup truck.
okay.
And since we're on the farm itself, I think maybe some bales of hay in the back would be.
Oh, okay, all right.
I mean, some of us have maybe done that before.
Just a few times.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman,
yes,
I have 2 videos that I took over the years of the entire complex.
You do?
Except for the one on top of the mountain.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
There were
How long are
2
they?
different tours.
how would we
One's
go
about
about
2
seeing
hours.
those here?
Pardon?
How would we go about seeing those
I
here?
email you the link. You can watch it at home.
Okay, all right, that sounds good too.
It explains everything. The farm tour that they had last year, and then there was one prior to that also.
But
Okay.
It shows everything.
those just show the fields and the buildings.
Fields, the buildings, it just doesn't go up the hill and around the property.
It doesn't go out to the back field.
Yes, it does actually. It shows even where the sump hole is for the septic distribution.
Oh, okay.
Okay, does it show any of the woodlands at all?
No, that's
It
the
doesn't,
only thing- that's the
it's
only
just
thing
the
it
open
doesn't.
area here in the buildings?
Correct.
Okay, all right, well, that may be a good place to start.
Yeah.
And then we can decide after viewing those if,
What parts, what
yeah,
they'd like to
if
see.
there are other parts we would like to see here.
It goes
That-
over
that's
the wood
great.
processor, it goes over
Yeah,
everything.
and that's in GovernmentOversite.com?
I'll send you the link.
Okay, great, thank you very much, I appreciate that,
That's
thank
something
you.
we could share with the public as well.
Yes, exactly, good point, yes. All right, even though we're into the meeting, we'll consider this the call to order. The approval of the minutes for the August 17th meeting, and I'd like to thank Susan for just the great job that she did, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Is there a motion and a second to accept the minutes of the meeting? for
I'll
the
make
August
a
18th?
I'll make a motion to accept them.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, are there any errors or omissions?
I'd like to change one word.
Okay,
Second page, 1, 2, 3, fourth paragraph. It should read, "We will exclude public input, not interest."
that's the
What?
4th
Would you read
paragraph
that?
down.
The committee discussed an online
Yes,
survey and listening
yeah.
sessions. These should be separate from the feasibility study, otherwise we will exclude public interest. It should read public input.
Okay. All right. All right. With this, that's just such a slight change. I'm not going to ask us to separately approve the amended. If there are no other errors or omissions, all those in favor of accepting the minutes of the August 18th meeting signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. At the last meeting, as the minutes indicated, we had talked a lot about the public relations. And that was, we had talked about press releases, we talked about doing radio, and we also talked about having listening sessions. And Amanda had, via email, had asked if we would like her to put together just some rough thoughts on the 3 sessions. Did I get that right? Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to you in this case, Amanda. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I called Molten Borough Selectman's office.
Yeah.
And they suggested if we were going to do some, all right, let me give you my thoughts. My thoughts
Okay.
were we would split up so that we could draw each one of them would draw on a large area and we'd cover the whole county.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, some people had said that they wanted it during the day
Yep,
because they don't like to travel at night.
yep,
Other people work and they have to go in the evening, and some people get home earlier on Fridays than they do on other days. So what I thought was, if we could do it at Saturday afternoon in one place,
mm-hmm,
Thursday night in another place in
Yeah.
the evening, and then the third place I was thinking about was here, so it would be kind of maybe even a Friday afternoon. We could do it because sometimes people before, after work and before they
yeah.
get involved in Friday
Okay.
activities. That was my thinking.
Okay, so you've got 3 locations, and they're gonna be varied during the time. Some may be in the morning, some may be in the evening, afternoon, and so forth.
Right. Well, I
Okay.
talked with Milton Borough Library,
Yeah.
and they said that any Saturday was fine, and they suggested sometime from like 1 to 3 or 2 to 4, that range. I spoke with, Brain, come back here. The senior citizens up in North Conway.
Gibson's on?
Gibson Center.
What is
Sorry.
it, Gibson?
Gibson
Gibson,
Center.
Okay,
Or what about the new community center?
Well, I happened to see the head of the Gibson Center, so
okay,
I had him, on the phone, and I said, by the way. And he said, any Thursday at 7 would be fine. They open at 7 on Thursday, they don't have any.
okay,
And he said that because what we were doing, there'd be no charge.
oh, great.
And so did the
Molten Borough would be no
Library.
charge, okay.
So I thought that was
Good.
And then I thought if we did one here, depending upon the size of we expected, we could either do it over in the delegation room,
Yeah.
or we could actually do it here in the hall, as long as it wasn't,
Okay,
meal terms
All
or
right.
whatever. And my other thinking was, if we go and we do all the radio and the TV and the news, and the newspaper. God, I'm still fixing my baler, sorry. And
let's get our priorities straight, and the bill is more
Yes.
important.
I didn't know if we wanted to do it all within the same week, so we could do all the publicity, and then people could have a
Mhm.
choice and say, oh my gosh, I missed the 7 o'clock meeting, but I can still make Saturday. Or, and then maybe spread it out a whole week or 2 weeks, I didn't know, so I.
Maybe
I
over
did-
2 weeks.
Over 2 weeks.
Yeah. Just because, it depends on when we want to do it. Because towards the end of September, early October, we're gonna have the 2 local fairs.
Mhm.
Well, that's why I thought we'd have it before the end of September, because I'd like to do this as soon as
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah.
In
And how long is
September.
it gonna take us to put all the materials
Yeah, I'm
together?
thinking that might be a little bit
Well-
too aggressive.
Well, it's only the first today.
That's true.
How much
But we're talking
notice do the radio stations need?
I don't know, a while back, I had wanted to do a drive time on the Conway radio station. And they said that they would like a week or 2 in advance notice to basically to schedule it. And so that was the only time I had ever approached them about that. But I'm going on the basis that they like a week or 2 advance notice to schedule. It's still in effect. I don't know about the radio station in Molten Wolfboro. I think Lino owns that one. We can ask him.
So I think that would probably be pretty,
Yeah,
a week or
yeah,
2 would be
yeah.
enough for that. And the newspapers is what, 1 week?
I don't know, but I don't think there'd be a problem with the newspapers.
Have you talked to Damon at all?
I have not talked with Damon about that. In fact, I saw Damon today, but I didn't discuss that with him.
Maybe we could get a news story out of it as opposed to putting
Yeah.
in
Right, that's what I'm thinking.
a press release or a PSA.
Yeah,
You want to get a story, because that way you're more likely to get it published.
Right.
Well, and the other thing I was thinking is, if we did the one in the Gibson Center, maybe we could get him to cover it.
That'd be fabulous.
yeah, that's just up the street from him, so.
And who's he?
reporter in the Sun.
Damon Steer, he's the reporter for the County Daily Sun. Just a quick question, Ed, will you be covering and videoing these 3 listening sessions as well?
If it's part of this committee, yeah.
Okay, I think that'd be great. I'd really appreciate that, because what it means is people who couldn't make them, it would still be available for them to watch them. And I think that's important. What I don't want to do is to discourage people from coming, because, okay, I can watch it. But I think that'd be important. I think we could get a much bigger audience. No matter what day we pick and where, there's always going to be conflicts. I can't make it that night. So if the video is available, and we can make it very clear at each listening session that if there's additional input that someone would like, we can give them an email or a phone number to call. I prefer email to contact us to basically to put their thoughts and ideas on the table. But if you're willing to do that, that would be great. I think we'd really appreciate that.
And there's 300 people, again, like I said, on the, 381, I'm sorry, on the Facebook page that are waiting.
So when we
Okay.
get ready with something to put in the newspaper, we can give
Oh,
that
it'll
to
be there
you, and
too.
you'll
Yeah.
also put it on
Okay.
that
Okay,
that
all right.
website.
All right.
Question,
Yes, Sandy, go ahead.
if it's going to be videoed,
Yeah,
if the sessions are going to be taped,
yeah.
would we announce that ahead of time? Or would it come out in the news story that is done as a result of a session? So we have try and get a story from Damon or
Yeah,
Melissa
yeah,
announcing these meetings,
yeah.
and then hopefully get another article after, and at that second article, put out that, gee, if you missed it, go to and get the video, watch the video.
Yeah.
Because I think if we announce it ahead of time, we might discourage people.
Well, that would be my
Yeah.
concern.
Yeah.
People feel I can sit at home and my input isn't that important. They may not think it is, even though it could be important.
Yeah.
It may discourage. So I'd rather kind of do it after the fact than before. I'd like to get as much public participation there as possible, because it feeds off each other as well. Someone makes a good comment and somebody else says, okay, I want to expand on that a little bit, or I want to move that in a different direction. Public input and the energy and the synergy that goes with that, I think, is very important.
Okay, so
Yes.
if we start, or if we
Yeah.
use as an anchor, the 23rd, which is a Saturday afternoon in Molten Borough.
Okay, the 23rd from either 1 to 3 or 2 to 4.
What
Okay.
do you think would be best?
Well, what's the feeling here? 1 to 3, 2 to 4, which you think would have a bigger chance of drawing a bigger audience?
I think that time frame it really doesn't
I don't, yeah. I don't think
matter.
Doesn't
there's
matter?
much difference to me.
Okay.
It depends if you want to draw farmers there.
Anybody.
Anybody.
Well, I know
Anybody.
that the Tamworth Farmers Market,
That's 1 to 3 is, no, it's
It's
11 to
9 to
11 to
1.
9 to 1, yes.
And the
And-
Comeau one is 9 to 2
yeah,
On Saturday.
on Saturday.
yeah,
But is there a Wolfboro? When's the Wolfboro Farmers Market?
Thursday.
Thursdays.
Okay, we're good there.
We're doing Molten Borough, aren't we?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you want to do 2 to 4? And that way, if they wanted to
If they
come
wanted
over,
to.
they could.
Yeah,
And if not,
Okay.
they can go to
All
the
right.
one in
We'll do the
Gibson
we'll do the
Center.
2 to 4 at Molten Borough. Okay, and that's on the 23rd. And the North Conway Gibson Center, you've got Thursday, 7 PM there.
Right, so
the
that would,
following week?
well, that would either be the Thursday before, which would be
The 21st.
first, or the one after, which would be the 28th.
I like Sandy's idea of spreading them out over 2 weeks.
I'd say do it the week after.
Okay,
So that would be what, the 28th then?
yeah.
Okay.
And the reason for that is if we do the one in Molten Borough, which paper is likely to cover it?
Maybe, I was going to see if the Laconia Sun might cover it, because a lot of people in Molten Borough get the Laconia Sun. So I was going to see if we could put our little
Okay,
article in the
okay,
Laconia Sun.
Okay, all right.
Well, if we could also get somebody, Damon, to cover the one in Molten Borough
I
as
don't
well.
think he does, Molten Borough, does
What
he?
about Melissa? Would she cover that area?
Yeah, I'd like to get
On the
Melissa
Democrat?
involved in this as well.
Because a newsletter, a newspaper article might draw other people in,
Mm-hmm.
so we're trying to feed on,
So if they got it on Saturday, they would be able to get it in the following Thursday's paper.
I think,
Yes.
which comes out on Thursday, which people would have a chance to read.
Is this something we could do like 3 or 4 days before the 23rd? And, because we're gonna have all these dates set up, and if whoever does the interview or helps whoever the newspaper person is with the article, do it ahead of time, and we can put all these dates
And
in
the
that
same articles.
article.
Yeah, yeah.
And then it's there ahead of time, and then along with what we're doing, that would be your biggest advertisement, I would think,
Mhm.
and drawing everyone there.
And I agree with you, because I think we need a
I agree.
article in the paper
Yeah.
saying, this
Yeah.
is what we're doing, and this
Yeah.
is where it's gonna happen, and this is when it's gonna happen. And then if we could get each of these
Covered.
listening sessions covered and put in the paper.
Right.
And if we did Molten Borough to the Gibson Center, that would be time to get it in the paper. But we could also do the one here at the county prior to
And
that.
what was the date that you had for the county one?
I didn't,
Oh, okay.
I didn't.
Who's this Melissa?
Melissa
Siemens.
Siemens,
She's a freelance writer for the.
Carroll County.
Carroll County
Independent?
Independent, I
Yeah.
think, isn't it? Oh, she moved on.
Does she write for anyone else or just the Carroll County?
That's the only,
Yeah.
haven't seen her article at Byline in the Sun. Those are the only two local papers I read.
All right, find her.
Is there a newspaper in the Wolfboro area?
The Carroll County.
Just the Carroll County
Grand
Independent?
State News,
I was gonna say.
Grand State News, okay,
yes.
okay.
I thought those were one and the same. No.
Grand State News, the Carroll County Independent are two.
Yeah.
I think Melissa may write for both of those. So.
She might.
All right, so Molten Borough on the 23rd,
2 to 4.
right.
Now I'll just have to, I mean, I've got these kind of tentative set with these people. I'll just have to call
Okay.
and verify and say yes.
Okay.
The Gibson Center, the 28th at 7 p.m.
Yeah,
When's Freiburg Fair start?
30th.
October 30th?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's Sunday.
Yeah.
October 1st.
October 1st, yeah. Yeah, it runs for a week, doesn't it?
It does, right.
So that was the thing, I didn't want to be up
Conflict
that
of
way
interest, yes,
during
yeah.
Freiburg Fair.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it would take me 3 hours to get to Conway.
Exactly.
Easily.
I had my doubts about getting here today on time, I'll tell you.
And
People
so-
love our country.
Yes, I know. So does that mean we want to do the tour of the property here before the 23rd?
I would hope so.
Have our first listening session here. If people want a tour, they can do it. If not, they can
Oh, good call.
see the video.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, first listening session.
It's on Thursday.
Happy to be here.
So is it the previous Saturday or Sunday?
Well, it can be any time. I got a little pole around here, so I can.
And you're not afraid to use that either, right?
Yeah, well, a little, you know, I still have to jump through smaller hoops, so.
But a Saturday would be good. I can do that one on a Saturday
At the county here.
Saturday?
for the county.
Yeah, okay, okay. So what
Yeah.
Saturday looks good?
That would be
The one
the-
before a week before the 23rd. I don't have a calendar with me.
Okay.
9/16.
Is that the 16th?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Oh, I think that's all right.
Mhm.
Well, my cousin's getting married.
Just a cousin. I'm just kidding.
Now, is that gonna conflict with the one on the 16th?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Here's my question. Are we still meeting on the 15th?
No, we would meet Friday the 15th.
Yeah,
Right.
Yes,
yeah.
that's our next meeting.
Just,
Right, right, right.
just
And
a
then the
final,
16th.
a final, okay, what are we missing here on this,
Okay.
on these? Because that would be before
Now,
any.
does that give us enough time to get all our info together.
2
and-
weeks.
That's what we're gonna have to talk about right here. You know, make sure we get this all lined up
2
and
weeks.
the set dates on it. Yeah. Okay, all right. Now, you will confirm those dates with the locations, right?
Right, right.
Okay, all right.
And I'm 99% sure,
Okay.
you know,
So
everything
I'm
is
just
fine.
writing Amanda here.
Yeah.
Okay,
I will email you as soon as I get off. the
okay,
phone.
okay, fine. All right, so we've got the session. So now, we can move in different directions here, but let's talk about
Question?
yes, Sandy?
We still need a farm tour for ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Does it make any sense to combine that tour with the Saturday
Saturday session?
session?
Okay, we didn't pick a time for the Saturday session, did we? Did we?
No,
I
we did
missed it.
not. No.
Okay.
I'm just asking,
Okay,
I don't
well-
know.
Yeah,
Should we be seeing it for the first time as everybody else?
That's kinda, cause they're gonna look for us for an answer, and I wanna be like, first time I'm looking at this tree too.
yeah, yeah. Well, the other thing is, say 35 or 40 people show up, the only tour we could give them would be basically on the property here. If we wanted to go off into the woods and take a look at other things, we would not be able to do that. Now we're getting into real transportation issues here.
Mhm.
And as
Well,
Dale says,
let
we
me,
might want.
let me check, because
Okay.
on a Saturday
Yeah.
would be the only problem. But we have a tractor and we have a trailer that they can put bales of hay on.
Big hay ride?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
Who's bringing the apple cider and donuts?
well,
Well, that would be a good draw.
apple cider and donuts.
Cider donuts and apple cider, yeah.
Do
Okay.
we have any local people that make apple cider?
Jackie Roberts up in Tamworth, that's the only one I know.
Dottie, she just, I'm not
Moore?
sure. She works at the hospital too.
Yeah, Dottie Moore.
Yeah, do they?
They don't
Or does
have
she
any
sell the
apples.
orchard?
They don't have any apples this year
Oh,
apparently.
really?
They lost them all during that big hailstorm.
Oh.
To divide,
Mackenzie's? Excuse me, Mackenzie's, they must press apples.
I don't think so, I think they just sell them. That's what I was gonna ask, if DeWilders makes apple cider, if they just sell apples.
Okay, who wants to check on that?
On what?
On,
Which one?
On the cider and apples,
I
the
could,
donut, cider and donuts.
I could check to see if Jackie would be interested in providing some.
Okay, okay.
Would it be a donation?
I think we'd be.
Preferably.
Yeah, I think
Preferably
we'd be
all
asking
of
for a
them.
donation, yeah.
I can talk to Ray Levitt about the cider donuts.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, so the two of you will check into that, okay.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna put.
Does he make donuts?
Yes, he does.
Oh, yeah, Levitt's Bakery?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Some of the best in the valley.
Yeah,
So this Saturday, the 16th,
Yeah.
is going to be,
it's just gonna be probably early afternoon then?
I'm thinking it should be around 12, 1 o'clock.
I think so too.
Okay, yep, okay,
And leave it open-ended on the other end maybe, depending on the
Yeah.
tour length?
yeah,
So we could say there's going to be a tour
yeah,
Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely.
at 12
yeah,
or 1.
yeah.
I'd say at 1, but people need to get here and probably have to sign a liability waiver to go on that.
Probably
Anyway.
wanna do something to protect the county,
Yep.
yeah. What are your thoughts on that, Amanda?
Oh, look, me, you're a commissioner.
I was just looking out the door thinking, when we did the tours before,
The farm must have liability insurance.
oh, I'm sure we do, I'm
So, you're
sure,
pretty
I'm
much
sure we're all covered, but I
Yeah.
was trying to think what the tour was associated with before. What was, that was the committee, right? The committee put on the farm tour last time.
Well, we did, yes, the committee did have a farm tour. We were all walking though, but we did have a farm tour.
Okay.
And how long does it take by hay ride?
I would think it would be probably an hour by the time you get loaded and get going and
Yeah,
stop and
yeah.
talk and.
Okay, but it probably wouldn't hurt to check on the liability, just to make
Yeah,
sure
I
that.
will.
I have,
Do you
okay.
remember how many people showed up to the last tour? Was it a good
Ah.
turnout?
Well, actually, we did, there was Ken Robichaud and Mark McConkey and Will DeWitt basically led that tour.
There were 3.
And I'm gonna say that 25, 30 people.
Okay. And again, that's something we need to make sure that gets advertised
Yeah.
and published in the
Mhm.
paper
Yeah.
pre-meetings.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
put it down, there's gonna be a tour of the county agricultural land.
Yes.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, yeah,
Because that also includes the trees
yes,
and the water.
okay.
So if we have the tour at 1, and we could have the listening session we could have cider and donuts at 2,
Perfect.
followed by the listening session.
Yes.
Yep,
Should we plan maybe a possibility of having 2 tours? I mean, if we get a good turnout,
Right. You're not gonna take them all on one
right,
day.
No,
so,
you
we'll
probably
say
won't, yeah.
12:30 to 1:30, and then,
Well, what we could do is the first tour and then have another tour after the
Right.
listening session.
Could do that too. Yep.
So the first tour is from 1 to 2?
Yeah. And then
Okay,
at 2, have cider and donuts.
okay. We could have that with the listening session, couldn't we?
Well, just saying then followed by
Yeah,
the listening
yeah,
session.
yeah.
So you're here, you're eating, you're drinking, sit down
That's
there. You're gonna have to talk in between your donuts.
And don't talk with your mouth full. Okay, now, all right, okay, now, let's get into the, we've got good coverage on the listening sessions, but now we're gonna talk about the press releases. How are we going to basically get the word out beforehand on this? And I know, Sandy, you had made a comment that rather than a press release, we may want an article.
right.
And get it in all 3 papers, both the Carroll County Independent, the Granite State News, and the Comeau Daily Sun.
Now, if we write our own article, won't they print it?
No. Well.
What did we
it's-
do on the extension?
We would write either a story it's called a public service announcement or a press release. And those generally get published if they have space.
Yeah.
And it could be 2 to 3 weeks later.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just like a birth announcement. You never know when it's gonna be in there.
Right.
yeah.
And so
Excuse me.
we could, I would suggest that we talk with Damon, because trying to get a story out of it, a news story, unless it's something big elsewhere going on in the county that week, it's more likely to get coverage and get published.
I don't have my phone, or I would call him. You have his number?
He's somewhere else. He's doing some court stuff today. Because I saw him and I asked him if he was going to be at this meeting. He says, no, I'm doing court stuff today. So if you want, I will get in touch with Damon.
And Melissa also?
I'll get in touch with Melissa. Although I don't know Melissa's phone number or anything. Does someone else have a better connection with Melissa than I do?
Well, I'm sorry, hang on. I just texted them both, so.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Well, there you go.
scratch that.
I don't wait. Oh, I have to mention something else. Add this to the list. We all have Facebook. I would assume, do you have Facebook?
Yes.
Okay, you have Facebook, you don't. You have Facebook?
I
So-
have an account, but I don't post a damn thing on it, excuse me.
Well, I mean, if you have, I know you have a lot of friends, so you probably have more than 381 friends on your Facebook page. I checked. You do. So use your Facebook page.
He's what? I thought he's big
Use your
brother.
Facebook page to get the information out.
Okay.
Yeah,
You see?
yeah.
So have
I have
Sandy.
I have a
That's a lot of
question for
friends. Good
Ed.
for you.
elected people.
I know 381 people,
Right.
who have 381 friends.
My question would be, does it sound right, my statement about it's better to get a news story as opposed to a press release?
I don't think it makes any difference. I think the public has to know one thing. What is the purpose? Why should I show up to this?
Yeah.
What does it mean for me? What are we doing? That's it. I don't think it
And
matters.
It's
and that we're
really
going to be
low.
discussing under message here. But I think that's true. Why should I be interested? Why should I attend this?
But my point was, the likelihood of something getting published in the paper, that's why I felt a newspaper story as opposed to a public service
Well-
announcement or a press release.
Well, I don't see why this would not be a story. I mean,
Yeah.
We're talking
Good.
about
Yeah,
a county operation.
Mhm.
You know, the county budget is
Yeah.
quite high. I would think
Yeah.
that would be a story.
And they
And I-
followed it throughout. I know the comedy.
they did, Damon did, I can't tell you the times
Yeah.
Damon called me at home and you know,
You're
was
saying
asking me
that.
questions and follow-up. I think maybe what we could do is just, to get a more direct answer to your questions, Sandy, just ask them.
Yeah,
I mean, they're the ones that are gonna be handling it, just ask them, you know, what they would prefer and what is gonna go to the top of the list of the pile and what's gonna go to the bottom. So I think if we talk to Damon and Melissa both, we can get an answer to that
Good.
and proceed accordingly.
good.
Okay,
Does everybody know Mark?
I know Mark.
Hi, Mark.
You know Mark?
I do not.
Okay.
Mark McConnell.
Mark.
Dale Drew.
Yep.
Nice to
from
meet you.
Delegation.
Susan got it.
Susan, hi.
You know Sandy?
Yes,
Okay.
And I've met you once or twice.
yes. And I apologize, I had to work. so.
Well, that's why I just
That
came out of the
happens.
hayfield, so.
That happens. Understand.
We just got done talking about the dates for the listening sessions.
Okay.
To talk to the people.
Sure.
And we said that the 23rd would be in Molten Borough from 2 to 4. And that the one at the Gibson Center
In North County.
would be at 7 o'clock on the
28th.
28th.
Yeah.
And that one here,
Of September,
Yes,
okay.
and that the one
these are all
here
in September, Mark.
at the nursing home would be on the 16th.
Okay,
And we would start at 1 with a tour, and then at 2, we'd have cider and donuts, and then followed by
By
the
the
listening
listening
session.
section.
okay.
Your thoughts, comment?
I'll catch up with where you are.
We just
Um,
walked in cold.
Yeah, I know it.
No, that's
Yeah.
all right. I wonder what we're are you to a point that you have some direction? Tell me what we expect. I'm just wondering if the listing's just a little too soon, that's my only thought.
Well, we're getting next into the message. What is the message that the questions are, why are we holding listening sessions?
Okay,
And that's going to be the message. And one of the things that we did not discuss, but I think it goes without stating, that no matter where we are, the message has got to be the same. The last thing we want is somebody somewhere giving one message and somebody else somewhere else giving a different message.
Sure.
People are wondering, okay, what is the message here? So the message has to be consistent.
Well, that's a great question to ask. All these dates, can everyone make those dates and times that are in this room right now?
I didn't hear anybody say they couldn't.
Right.
Did you say September 15th?
No.
It's the 16th, it's a Saturday and the 16th.
September.
Yes, September, these are all in September. And we're going to be having our meeting the Friday before on the 15th.
So I think if we're all on the same page and we're all at all these listening sessions, the message should be pretty consistent.
Yeah, but I think I'd like it, not getting paranoid or anything, but I think I'd like much more, something in writing.
Well, yeah, we have
So
2 weeks to
yes,
get
right,
everything
exactly.
together.
So we can. so
Well,
we
what
can all-
goes in the paper should be
Exactly.
what we agreed
Right.
to.
There's a common message, there's a common story that we want to tell here, and that's consistent.
Which
Sandy.
really means, I think, that the 16th is essentially 2 weeks from today.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right.
Tomorrow.
Yep.
It has to get into the paper
Before
about a
that.
week and a half from
Yes,
now.
yes. So
That
we've
means
got to
we have
come,
a week to get our message together and get some.
we've got to have a pretty good idea what that message is going to be when we leave here today.
Well,
Yeah.
that was my hope.
Yeah.
Well, and
Well, you know
Steve,
what that message is.
what we were talking about before the meeting, would we need to meet again to discuss what someone comes up with, or we don't want to discuss this through email?
No.
So
right,
let's say,
right.
for example, Dale's gonna
Yeah.
go home and write this,
Yeah.
and then share it with the rest of
Yeah.
us, and we're gonna critique
We,
it. and-
why don't we leave that open? Maybe not meeting 2 weeks from today, but meeting in between that, just to firm that all. But the thing is, we've got to get, as Sandy said, we've got to get that article, a press release, out at least a week or a week and a half before
Right.
these. But again, we can determine that from talking with Damon and Melissa, what their schedule is. If they say, look, I'm going to need 2 weeks, well, we know we need, but they say, look, just give it to me 4 or 5 days in advance, it'll be in there, then we're covered. But we'll know that, and I want to get that from them personally, rather than us sitting here guessing on it.
I get it.
Well-
Because we could guess wrong.
And the the one here at the county farm
Yeah,
is flexible.
Yep.
I mean, if we have to go to the end and do it in October, that's
Yep.
not the end of the
yeah,
world.
exactly,
Um,
exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
just put it for, because the other two are kind of gonna be set.
Yeah.
You know, I'll have
Can I have those other 2 dates again? You told me the 16th.
23rd and the 28th.
Let me just put them
Okay.
So I think the thing that, this news release is going to also have to be a little educational.
Yeah,
We're going to have to tell them that there's acreage here at the county complex, which is located on 171. You know,
it's how it's located on 28, Route 28
Right.
too, isn't it? Yeah,
but see, people don't even know.
yeah,
I know when I was running for commissioner, they would go,
yeah.
well, what's the commissioner do? And I tell them, I say, well, where's this county complex? And I go, oh dear.
Can I just ask you?
Sure.
We had a very extensive farm tour
Yeah.
a number of months ago, and it was filmed. Are you you're not looking to recreate that sort of thing again, are you? You're talking about your other properties and other grounds and so forth, is that what we're looking to look at?
I think that's what we'll look to make it broader. There's 700 and some odd acres here, and I don't think the committee is looking to cover every acre that the county owns,
No.
but to hit some of the highlights and the points to give just an indication of, okay, this is some of the vast acreage that the county owns, just hitting some of the highlights.
But not necessarily, here's where we do the wood, here's how we bag the wood, here's where we do this, here's where we do that.
Ed
Because
has
we-
volunteered to give us the
To make-
website for that.
To make the
so we can
videos
put
of those
that-
previous tours available.
Fantastic, so we're
Yes.
not gonna revisit
Yes,
that
right,
whole
the
thing.
video, Ed is gonna
Okay.
give us the website to go to, and we'll make that available as well,
Sounds good.
so that
Okay.
people can see it,
I
yeah.
just wanna make sure we weren't gonna go back.
Go over it all over again, yeah.
No, like going up to the water tower and where the old ski area was. And
Yeah, no, that sounds
Yeah,
good.
that
yeah.
That's fine,
type of-
Yeah.
that's fine.
Okay, all right.
Might even, well, the cemetery's a little far to get to.
So are we at a point here now, we can talk about the press releases, or the articles, and what that theme, what is it we want them to say?
Well, how do we convince them that it actually belongs to them?
Just tell them. This is your property.
If you had a
You administer it.
700
You were
acre
the
farm,
delegation
what would you
administrator.
do with it? Or
Yeah,
700
yeah.
acres of agricultural land,
Yeah.
what would you want
Yeah,
done with it?
yeah.
You know,
What is interesting, I'm like digressing here for a second, but last Saturday before we went to the Tamworth Farmers Market, and I was talking to a couple that had a stand, they were selling things, and I went up and introduced myself and gave them a brief background. We had a committee going to discuss the future of the county farm and lands, and before I could say anything, he said, "Don't sell it, keep it open." I said, "Well, we're just getting into this." She said, "Don't sell it, no, keep it open." I said, "Okay." And then we get distracted. I never did finish that conversation. But the other day, I was talking with somebody again, who was just kind of passing by, and it came up, and she says, "We got to be able to do something with that." And I said, "Well, that's what we're looking into." But what I find interesting, just casual conversations, and these people admit that they know nothing about it at all. They know nothing about it. But this ownership thing, you were talking about this ownership thing, don't do anything. Don't hold it, don't panic.
And that's great news, but these people that they just say don't sell it, they need to get involved.
Well, yes, but
So we
it's
need
easier
to.
said, yes.
Well, no, but it's easier said than done, but we need to put the information out there that makes them want to be involved. That's where we
Exactly,
need to focus.
and that's, maybe that's, just a brief, we're talking now about the press releases of the article. And as Amanda said, maybe just a brief history here, what we're hoping to get out of this thing, but also to make it clear in that message is that your input, is important in all of this process. And just take it from there. But we gotta be more specific. Okay.
Well, there's
What is
also-
the story we want to say? That we
There's
want to
also
tell?
the thing about the taxes. I don't think that the county agricultural lands should have any effect on our taxes. I think it should be self-sustaining somehow. And I think those are maybe some of the, that might be one of the requirements for their years is
Well, remember,
how can we make it self-sustaining?
we adopted a mission statement here, and this may be a good time to go through to read again the mission statement, because anything that we do should be within the context of the mission statement.
Right.
To go off in some different direction here. Okay. Some entity to search for the optimal use of the Carroll County's 894 agricultural lands and buildings for the benefit of Carroll County residents and taxpayers. That was the mission statement that we voted on unanimously.
Maybe we should put that in the article.
I think it should be.
Should be the first
That,
line.
yeah, that should, to me, that should head it off. Why are we doing this? This is why we're doing this. And to do that, we need your input. Your thing, because this is your land. Your input is important to us. As this committee goes forward, as we begin to come up with some final answers here, your input is what makes it happen. Does that make sense?
Certainly.
And they're gonna have to shoulder the consequences.
That's right. One way or another.
Like, can I
Yes,
say something?
do-
When
go
I
ahead.
came in here 2 weeks ago,
Yep.
I was like, farm, farm, farm. And then
Yep.
listening to Amanda speak, valid point, changed my opinion 100%. Thank you. There is so much land here and so much potential for so many different things, including the farm property here.
Mm-hmm.
Making it self-sustainable without affecting the taxes, I mean, without privatizing it, I don't know if that would be a total, if you could do that 100%, it would be difficult. I mean, I'm new at this, but,
I know you run a farm too. so-
yeah, I do. So, but the opportunities are so great to maybe bring it into the black instead of the red, which I think is where we all want to go. So I think we should stick to trying to find the best use for the land, and yeah, decreasing the amount of responsibility placed on the shoulders of the taxpayers of Carroll County is the #1 goal. But you have to start somewhere.
Right.
And the first couple of years aren't always the smoothest. But if you used to have a plan and stick to it, we might reap the rewards at the end of the 5-year plan.
And
Or
if
whatever.
it's a people's plan.
Right, exactly.
And it's going to cost them some money, they might be much more willing
I
to
agree
do
100%.
that.
Right.
You know, but I just,
Well, I think it's a shame you go to money right away, because I'm going to tell you that we have this wonderful resource, and we should figure out what we're gonna do with this wonderful resource. But if we think for a moment that the county is gonna put people and personnel into this process, it's probably not gonna happen.
No, I understand.
But if there are farmers and there are homemakers, and I'm using the wrong term, like what you.
Whatever.
Homesteaders?
Homesteaders.
Yes, and people like that, that's absolutely fabulous. If the property can be used by people wanting to produce a product, we've been talking about that right along. But the county is not going to pay to put up buildings, and the county's not going to pay, in my opinion, is not gonna pay for personnel to do those things. If this cooperative people is just really excited about this, and the county needs to ante up some land and help with, some cutting or doing whatever, I think that's a real possibility. So I don't know if we're talking in the same realm, but
Well, here's my theory. Out of the 894 acres, you have over 700 of them are wooded. It sounds like a great place for a cross-country ski place. People can, just like they have in Bartlett or Jackson, it's a lot of area. And would there be some upfront cost to that? Of course there would. But the potential to make it successful and create jobs and money for the county, I think is there as well. The maple grove that's out there, I mean, I know it's being used right now, and I think there's some income, but is it the right amount? Is it the proper amount? Are we doing it the right way? Are we managing the crop properly? These are all things that we need to look at, and different, not just the farm aspect of it. And Amanda was right 2 weeks ago, when we need to be more broad and cover everything that we can do on this huge area of land that we'd all love to have.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just wanted to say that the potentially could be great. And I don't mean the money up front or the money on that black and the red, but that's the people that are gonna decide, that's what they're gonna be more worried about, is how much is it gonna cost me? After the fact that we teach them why they should be involved. They're gonna say, well, how much is it gonna cost me?
Well, and I think if they're thinking about that, at the same time, they're thinking about all these out-of-the-box ideas. When they come to the listening sessions.
Right, that's what they need to come with.
Yeah.
That's going to give them
Yeah.
discussion material, which I think is what I'm looking for out of this.
Right, I
Okay.
agree.
Comment.
Yes.
This committee's purpose is to, as I understand it, is to put together an RFP to send out to have a feasibility study done,
Mhm.
correct?
Yeah.
Correct.
And we are conducting these listening sessions to get the public's input so that we can include that information as part of our RFP.
Right.
As part of the information we can provide to whoever is doing the feasibility
Yep.
study.
That's my opinion.
Yes.
Yeah, so people could come up with all kinds of off-the-wall ideas,
But it's our job to narrow them down. I think.
correct? But we're still doing a fair amount of blue skying, or green walling, as somebody calls it. And the more somewhat realistic ones could be included in the information we provide to the feasibility study,
RFP.
well, whoever does it.
Mhm.
So I think we should not, I guess I'm in agreement with Dale that we should keep it fairly broad.
There may be, I mean, we've had discussions here, and there could very well be a lot of redundancy.
It could.
We had those 3 listening sessions. Let's just make it, say collectively 200 people show up for these 3 sessions. We don't know, but we may not hear a lot of new things in the sense that we've already talked about these. They've been discussed here. But then again, there may be other common threads that keep coming up there that in all honesty, we had never even thought of. There's always that possibility. So, and why I think the listening sessions are important is we go forward with the feasibility study. And we've asked basically, before we put this out, to review with both the commissioners and the delegation, so both bodies have a sense, okay, this is where we're going with this thing, and put it out there. What we don't want is we get this report back, we get the feasibility study back, and someone says, well, I noticed you never talked about this. Well, that may happen. We never heard about that. We had never thought of it. It was not on our radar screen. We had never thought about it. So that may happen. But to go with what you're saying, another saying is, as broad as it is, we feel that there's little likelihood that we will miss something altogether, something that's important and germane here. And as I say, if we start with the mission statement, that's pretty all-encompassing. What is the optimal use without basically costing the county a lot of money,
Right.
money at all? And that in itself is somewhat restrictive, because we're talking, this is what we feel we can do, this is what we feel we can't do, unless the county is willing to invest a great deal of money in this. And as Mark has said, that does not appear like that's going to be an option. So we'll go with what we can do. But the listening sessions are important. And I think it also gives the voters and the residents of Carroll County a sense of ownership in this process. And I think that's important as well. In some respects, we're working on their behalf.
Well, and the other thing is, if, for instance, all the people show up and they have 2 main ideas, then we'll know that that's pretty well where the focus
Yeah.
should be.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
going to be
Right.
the acceptable thing.
Right.
Exactly,
You know,
exactly.
So it may be, you know, they may come in here and they may say, well, you know, I think you ought to open it up as a, I don't know, teenage in the woods penitentiary like they have up north. And if, you know, 20 out of 40,000 people think that's a good idea, well, then that would be something that would drive our feasibility study.
Do we have records, at least counts, of all the previous suggestions that have come up? So that, you know, we had 5 votes for this and 2 votes for that, and
No,
we should keep that information, because that gives you a statistic.
yeah. What we did
I
not
have
do.
some of the emails
Yeah.
people sent me.
Just to cover a little ground here, on the first committee, if there were other things done outside of that committee, I personally am not aware of them. But the first committee looked at doing surveys, of doing listening sessions. I've said some of this before, and we were strongly urged not to do this. The feeling being is that whoever was going to be doing the feasibility study may want to cover that ground themselves, and it would be self-defeating. Because if they started moving that process, people say, well, we've already been there and done that, and you may not get the feedback that you were looking for. And as I've said, knowing what we know now, I think back then, if we knew that, I think we would have, the first committee would have gone ahead with the listening sessions and the surveys and so
So
forth.
that, it's
So-
just my suggestion
Right,
that
so,
we keep
so
track of
I
that
will
data.
confess that I have rethought it to some extent as well. And the more I do think about it, and I think getting a sense of this committee, that public input is important.
Yes.
It was an element that we felt we needed in going forward. So, tempus fugit here. Let's get back to the article that we want to write that basically is announcing all of this. And we're starting with the mission statement, which basically outlines the whole thing. This is where we're going. So, okay, now, let's flesh that article out a little bit more here.
Well, who do we want here?
We want residents of Carroll County.
47,000 people who live in Carroll County.
47,000 people, right.
Well, can we put down 47,000 Carroll County residents?
Residents. Yeah.
Okay,
And if they all show up,
we're gonna need a lot of donuts and cider.
then you know, if that's in the paper, that might pique people's
Well,
interest.
it might, you know, nice
It would,
Saturday
I didn't know
afternoon,
how
let's
many
get
residents
out.
were in Carroll County before.
Yeah, there's
Heard that number 2
47,000,
weeks
yeah,
ago.
yeah. Plus, don't forget seasonal homeowners.
Right, yeah, I
You
know.
Years back, the town of Albany, when I was on the planning board, we updated our master plan, and we sent it out to every property owner in town. Half of the returns were from second homeowners. And I thought that was very interesting. That was half of them. So even though they pay their taxes and don't live there, they still are very interested in what is going on. So we may find that as well.
And that's another thing, by having this listening session in September,
Yep,
those people are gonna still be here, they can be included.
yep. Okay, so it's going out to all 47,000 Carroll County residents.
That's the residents, how many households is that?
I don't know.
Do you know
26,000, that was the last figure I had, 26,000 households.
Sounds about right.
Okay, and the what is the 700?
So why are we having these listening sessions? And it gets back to, so we want to flesh out the mission statement here.
Bless you.
Thank you.
We're having listening sessions to elicit public
Public input.
comment and
Yeah.
input and
Yeah.
interest
Yeah.
in what we should do with the 894
Yeah.
acres of land within the responsibility of the.
Yeah,
We want the public to tell us to do what
Right,
to
exactly.
do with their public
Exactly.
land.
Right,
Exactly,
exactly.
exactly. What is the optimal use? It says in the mission statement, the optimal use of the property.
that's gonna create, that's where we need to have our stuff together with what is the 894 acres of the land that you want us to help you decide what to do with. So we need to get some sort of fact sheet that we can hand out or write in this article that shows we have this many acres of woods, we have these, we have this, and this.
All right, there is a, I wish I'd known, because there's a forestry report that was done a few years ago.
Is that the one that Wendy Scribner did?
I don't think she did it, I think she that's what she was using for a lot of her references.
Oh, okay.
The forestry plan, and that has pictures and all kinds of things in it, which
Could you get hold of a copy of that?
I can. It's
Okay.
right over in the office.
Okay.
Um,
In some respects, it's an inventory we're looking for.
Well, not really, I don't think they need to know how many tractors we have
No,
or how many
no,
dollars we pay,
No.
This
but-
was just about the forestry land.
Yeah.
Did you
Yeah.
see that, Mark?
and list the buildings and what's in them, just
No,
general.
yeah,
I
don't
think
that's
you need to
important.
do that.
Hmm?
I think you need to do that. List like the building, what's in them, what they're, just size and what they are. Is it a barn? Is it a storage shed?
I
Is it this?
don't know if we need to do that
You
in
should.
that level of detail.
Well, I think it could be something as simple as Google Earth of the farm complex. We have X number of buildings, we
Right.
have that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that we have.
You don't need to know how many
woodlands and
stalls
this
are in
and
each
that.
barn.
yeah.
Just
Right
what
now,
it is.
they're pretty much open.
Yeah.
When you did the tour, did you go inside the buildings? Yeah, so that's in the,
Yeah.
on his video.
Yeah. And we could always put the link from that video in this article as well, so everyone can see it. Same thing we're looking at.
That sounds like a good idea.
There's 2 today. I'm on fire.
You're on a roll. Buy a Powerball today.
When you get the bill for the fee, you have to.
Oh, I knew
work
that
it
was
in.
coming.
Yeah, but that tour was a microcosm of what's right here.
Yes.
And what we're talking about's out here.
Exactly.
So I think that, it's here, and I think if you Google out, most of our properties contiguous here, isn't it?
Yes,
Something
it
down
all-
there?
it all
Just
is.
draw a heavy line on it. This is all of our forest land, and from the sky, you see, this much is hayfield or whatever, and I think just something like that simple for the people blown up is.
Yeah.
Well, I
is
could
really
take one of
important.
those
So they keep
pictures.
thinking the big picture.
Yeah.
You know the pictures we looked at last week, 2
Right.
weeks ago?
Yes,
I could
yes.
take one of those, maybe a
Okay.
picture and put it on,
Yeah.
How big was that picture?
Oh, they were big.
It was the map you brought,
Yeah,
right?
Right.
yeah, the map, yeah.
Could we get a Google Earth picture of that
I think
type
that's
of
what
thing?
Mark was
and
talking
then
about, was
get
it, yes, yeah.
build something we can put on
Yeah.
a tripod to show people, or to still make it clear
Well,
and
those-
put
you
it
know,
down
those-
to put that
those-
picture in the paper as well with the article?
flat pictures that were on the table.
Yeah.
They came out of the office. That's what those showed mostly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
One of them's marked all over it,
yeah,
I think.
if we could link that in the article, here's the link, and also shrink some of them down, so with the listening sessions, we can have on a board here, this is what we're talking about. One picture being worth 1,000 words, we can now give them an opportunity to see just what it is we're talking about.
Maybe
Don't
we can
shrink it
get
down.
something,
Mounted on a poster board so it's right there. People can look at it from across the room while you're doing the listening session.
right? So-
With the hard lines, this is the hayfield, this is the forest land.
Mhm.
Show the
So
brook,
after
show where
the
the ski
listening
area
session.
was, show the vegetable patches and all that stuff. And that way people will be able to see how big
Okay.
an area this is.
Maybe we could actually get a picture to put in the article.
Would be fabulous.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's gonna be low quality, 300 DPI, everything else, so whatever you're gonna put there, just make it that it's attractive enough to
Yeah.
get them here, and it's easy to put those on the
Mhm.
wall.
Yeah.
But if not, we can put the link in the article.
Sure.
Right.
I think links are great.
That's a definite, I
They
think.
have interest, they'll go.
I was trying to think what there is here that there's just so much, there's just, you know, the more I wander out back and around, the more it's like, oh my gosh, this is.
Okay, so why are we having the listening sessions? What we've done so far is we've started with the mission statement. And then basically what we've done is we've given what we call a fact sheet that includes some inventory of the property and so forth. And also a link to a Google map so that anybody can open that up and see just what it is we're talking about here. So now we've tried, okay, so this is what we're talking about. This is what is the point here, that why you're here. So how do we then phase into the fact that, okay, you're here because we want your input. We want you to talk to us. We want you to tell us what you think.
Yep.
Because we're putting together a feasibility study, and we want your thoughts and your input to be a part of that feasibility study.
Here is your chance to tell your elected officials what to do. You know, it's, not that they don't do it one-on-one,
Right.
but it would be, you know. Because I know when I was campaigning, it was incredible, some of the things that people came up with to do with the lands. And
Oh, I'm sure we'll get some very interesting uses here.
yeah.
But let's let their imagination run. Okay,
So can we just put in the article, it says, take a minute, jot down some of your ideas and bring them to the meeting.
okay, okay. What else?
Should the article include a description of some of the past uses?
I think probably be covered in the brief history. I don't think we would want
Okay.
to focus on that too
No.
much, because we don't want to limit their thinking.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. I just want to say again, as I've said before many times, and I probably will continue to say this as we try to frame this issue, that adage that one definition of insanity is to keep doing something the same way and expect a different result. And it's clear, it should be clear to everybody at this point in time, that the decisions that have been made, if the county farm is to have a future, we need to look at this thing differently. Because just treading over that same ground again is, you know, it didn't work before, what makes us think it's going to work now? If we want a different answer, we got to approach it differently. And I think maybe that, stressing that point, may get our listening audience out there, who's with the voters of Carroll County, to really start to think about this a lot differently. If we kind of stress, not saying we're only interested in new ideas, but if we stress that, you know, this, let's not focus on what hasn't worked, but let's focus on what can and will work. And that may just release a lot of their own creativity and imagination. But obviously, if what had gone on the last 25 or 30 years had worked, we would not be sitting here today. You know, so let's put that behind us and let's move forward.
You also have to remember that 25 years ago, things that might not have worked back then, I know you're saying that they could work again, because times come back around and
Yeah.
things are changing, and you always have to be willing to evolve with the times. So if we do this feasibility study and they say, well, this will work, there always has to be a little portion of whoever is involved in it to be like, well, this will work for now, but in 2 years, we might want to evolve in another direction. Or just stray a little bit and take a little side street to keep in touch with what's going on. Because, I mean, and I know I'm going back to farming here, but sustainable farming 25 years ago wasn't that big a deal.
Right.
And now it's come back around full circle, and sustainability farming is huge. or in becoming bigger, I should say. I hope it to be huge at some point.
By
But
necessity, it might be.
right, yeah. So I agree that we shouldn't keep going over the same things that haven't worked, but a new idea, an older idea could be a new idea again.
Or approached in a
Approach it
slightly
differently.
different way.
Exactly.
Right,
Well, you know,
and that's
I
what I think a feasibility study will help to determine.
Right.
But I just want to bring up a point that Mark made earlier that I think is relevant. And I'm not speaking for Mark, I'm not speaking for the commissioners, but there is a history here of many things that you've tried that haven't worked. And I think if all of a sudden we approached both the commissioners and the delegation and said, we want to try this again, I think there may be some resistance that, wait a minute now, you're asking us to fund how much for this? And where has been the history of success on this? You know, wait a minute, wait a minute, we've done this before.
I agree with what you're saying, but a government-run farm is not going anywhere.
Well, I agree.
Now, if a group of farmers comes in
Yeah.
That's where I'm headed.
and says
Yeah.
that we can take this over and give us the opportunity in this plot of land for X number of years and we're gonna do it, fantastic. Everyone wants to see a portion of this land farmed. But I do not want to see our government farming it because our model has shown us
That I agree with.
that that doesn't work.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
if a component of this is farming, fantastic.
But you know,
That's-
I think you're right. That's only a component. But I think if an entity came in and wanted to take the whole 900 acres and do something with it collectively, with a component of farming.
I'm open to hear what makes the most sense for.
I
the
agree.
property.
yeah.
And it could all depend on the season as well. I mean, you could have a farm component here in the spring, summer, and fall, and then you could have a whole different group come in and do winter, early spring something. I mean, the cooperative idea 25 years ago wasn't that big, not really talked about much. But now, I think you would have a better chance of getting a large group of people interested in the same thing, making this successful for everybody involved, that would put the time and the effort in, and it wouldn't include taxpayer money or taxpayer employees, and then, I mean, there's so many different options that are just in my head that this isn't really the day for it, but,
Attend the listening sessions.
yeah, I'll be there. But yeah, there's so many different things. There's so much land here and so much potential that, I mean, I know you don't want to focus on just the farming end of
No,
it, but that's
I
a
understand.
small area of the whole thing. And you could get, I'm just throwing things off here, but you could get someone to come in here and say, yeah, I'd love to operate I've said it before, a cross-country ski thing in the winter. Perfect. I need this much land, I have my own groomer, here we go. Done. Something like that. I mean, there's so many different things, and I think we're gonna get a lot of those ideas from the public when they come to the listening sessions.
You know, and I think maybe, I mean, this is a totally different direction than I thought we were gonna take a month ago, but it seems, you know, maybe if it were a separate entity, 10 people, 8 people, whatever, that was going to operate and run the 900 acres and make it sustainable somehow, whether it be cross-country skiing
Whatever it
or
is.
horse riding
Right.
or whatever.
Yeah?
Multiple use.
Multiple use at different
Exactly.
times, part of it being farming, part of it
Yeah.
with the hay and whatever. And it would be like an LLC or a non-public,
Nonprofit.
nonprofit that was going to rent it from the county and then run it, so the county wouldn't have any financial
Burden,
attachments.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I really,
I kinda, I don't know,
All right.
I'll have to
have to mull
think
that one
about
over?
that one for a while, that's gonna take some thinking.
These are all good ideas, I'm thinking, but we're getting sidetracked here. We got to get back to what we want in that
I think
article.
we got it, don't we?
Should we include in the history a little bit about county farms in general and
Uh-huh,
how, you know,
okay.
we're the second to the last, you know, to exist. And what a treasure it is, and we don't wanna let it slip. What's happened to the county farms that
Yeah,
were sold off? And
yeah. We're one of the survivors in respect of the
Right.
10 counties, only 2 still have farms.
But the rest still own a lot of acreage.
Yes, they do, they
Yeah,
do.
they own the acreage. I go
Yeah.
down to Rockingham to go
Yeah.
see their soils people, and there's gorgeous fields, and
Yeah.
there's people
Yeah.
still working out there. They may not run a farm, but they still own their land.
Yeah,
And
So-
who is renting it though? And
I
that's,
don't know, but I'm
you know,
telling you, the
Yeah.
county still owns
yes,
those acreage.
yes, yes, yeah.
A lot of it, though, I don't know.
I do know that, in Belknap County, Small and Beginner Farmers has an agreement with either the county and/or the town of Meredith, I think, or perhaps Wolfboro,
Wolfboro's Carroll
Laconia.
County.
Laconia, where they lease some of the fields from those municipal entities for haying. And part of their agreement is that they maintain the fields, they lime them, fertilize them, whatever. They pay Laconia, or they were a few years ago, so many cents per bale at the end of the year after the harvest.
This is the beginning farmers?
The
We've
Belknap County.
been open to that right along.
I know.
That's what that's
Well,
the
and
sort of
I-
thing I'm hoping we're gonna.
Yeah,
Contacted the county.
that's the way-
County
Yeah.
beginning
I'm
farmers,
tell-
didn't
I
get
mean-
anywhere.
Well,
Forest
because we
land
don't
isn't
have
my
the
thing.
equipment. Beginner farmers in Carroll County does not have the equipment to do that.
And that's, I had spoken with you about that.
Yeah.
That when I
However, neither does the Belknap County group own the equipment, and they did at one time. Now, I believe they are contracting with a private farmer who hays the fields, and that farmer gets paid by taking half of the hay for their own use. The other half is sold to beginner farmer members. And they still make some, a small amount of money on it, enough to pay the expenses.
Again, there's
That
so
is
many different
fabulous.
options.
Yes, I know,
That's
Because we
perfect.
need hay in the county.
yeah.
There isn't enough land.
No,
Okay, let's
Well,
get
you
back,
get your
let's
bailiff.
get back
I'm
to
just saying
this.
that's one option.
Yes, all right.
Yeah.
So,
That's a wonderful option.
so what would you like the brief history to talk about? Just what has been done here in the past, what the history of county farms throughout the state has been and so forth? Just very briefly, no more than 1 or 2 paragraphs.
Like-
Just a brief overview.
There's a background information on the feasibility study proposal sheet from the previous committee that first paragraph covers it pretty well on page 29.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay.
Could I see the paragraph? Thank you. Thank you.
didn't I give you a copy of that?
I'm sure you did. I don't have it in my truck with me.
Okay,
But again, we're just talking about, Sandy's great idea, but we're talking about a small portion of this huge
That's
property.
correct. But that's
So-
only, who says it has to be one group?
Right, you can
that's
have.
right, that's right.
No, I'm
It
just
could be
saying,
several.
I was thinking of a group that would oversee the sectioning out of.
Well,
I don't agree with the paragraph.
you don't?
What's your problem?
As far as history?
Yeah. If we're gonna talk about what the history of the property's been,
Okay.
in the 40s, this was a hugely successful. What's here is a lot of this is,
The stuff that we're just barely doing now.
there's a lot here that I would say probably isn't there. If you wanna talk about, in the first paragraph, the Carroll County Farm has 894 acres. Carroll County Farm doesn't own anything. Carroll County has.
We, the taxpayers.
We have,
Yes.
it's not the
Yeah,
farm.
yeah.
Mhm.
And, some of the more recent, in the 40s, you know, you could talk about whenever it was, there's this wonderful book that talks about what a beautiful history it was.
What is that book?
Um,
I don't know, but when, in the 50s, it was a
Yes.
very productive farm. They stopped, they had
What
Angus
happened?
here, and they
What-
stopped because there was no USDA
Processing?
processing, because they used to sell, the Angus, the meat went to feed the prisoners in the
But
nursing home.
they used to be, I just came down off of Granite, and I mean,
Yeah.
they used to go out there and plant potatoes. It was a huge, big thing.
It was a big
What's
enterprise.
here, a lot of this is paragraph
It's just-
1, I'm telling you right now, I won't sign on anything.
That's
It's
recent, really.
Paragraph 1.
So,
I think you should be talking about the broad history of what's here.
but so the history in the 40s and 50s was farm.
But they also did logging. The inmates, up until just, what, 20 years ago?
Yeah.
When the laws changed and they
See, all
couldn't
this
use
stuff is-
equipment.
I'm
They used to
aware.
go, the inmates used to go out and log.
Well, this is what we need to
But
put
it
in.
was, you know, people were coming here, and this is where they bought their piglets, and they did all
Yeah.
that stuff. It was very active then. And what,
Now, was that county run? Was that county employees running the
it
farm?
was
then?
county run, and it was run by Ellie Stokes' grandfather, is what the book's about
Yeah.
in the 40s and
What,
50s. and
I'm
talk-
just curious, what
But I'm just
changed,
saying,
Mark?
when you
Yeah.
break to this paragraph,
Yeah,
there's a lot in that paragraph that is just
Inaccurate.
inaccurate.
Well, it's current,
So
isn't it? It's not.
So,
okay.
What's the name of the book?
Ellie keeps telling us, and I keep saying I'm gonna buy a copy, we could contact her. And it's this beautiful narrative of what the farm used to be. But, you know, again, a lot of that's on the farm side, you know, so I think you need to touch on, you know, something
Touch on
about
that.
that.
Yeah.
Touch on, here's what we have today.
I agree.
We have no interest in selling that off, you know, what's the best use for it? And come in with your ideas. and
Now-
Let them talk.
It's my understanding in the 50s, or at least what I can remember, everything that was produced here was used here.
It probably was.
Because I don't remember, although you could bring piglets up here to get them castrated. I don't, and yes, I guess you could buy piglets here. Yes, you could buy
Yeah, they
piglets.
would sell pigs, and it was wonderful. And when you speak with Ellie and you speak to people that are older than me, that's what they remember. They remember coming here, and they remember it being active and productive.
Yeah.
What they're not aware of is what it has become here at the end. So if you give them an overview, but we're saying we have all of this acreage, and we'd like your ideas on what to do, but if the ideas flood in here that we should be doing this all over again, and that it's gonna be run by the government, it's not going to be.
Yeah.
So this is Ellie
I don't-
Stokes you're talking about?
Yes.
I'm
She
not-
lives where?
In Freedom.
In Freedom?
Her grandfather ran the jail, and grandfather and another person in the jail had all sorts of people here that were always very, very active, and there were other, it was, from everything I hear, it was gorgeous.
Well, this
Yeah.
history, though, is gonna be brief. I mean, I.
In
yeah.
this, in
Yeah.
the
Why
press
do we
release
even have
article,
one?
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So we could make reference to the title of that book if we can
Sure.
find it out.
yeah. If we can get the title of the book and the author, I think we could put that in there, in the article, if it's somebody who really wants to follow.
But I
up on
don't
that.
think we want to influence people into
Right.
Right.
pushing them into going back to the historical past. because-
Exactly, exactly.
But if they're interested, this is what it used to be, but
This is why we have the
The
land to begin
environment-
with.
And if you wanted that environment back, give us your ideas as to how to do it.
Well, I don't
It's
want to tell
not-
them I want that environment back. It's a mix of what's gonna work and what, just because it worked then may not be, but maybe farming in a different, maybe forestry in a different, maybe a mixed use like you're talking about through the forest, maybe that works. But we don't want to channel them where it is, but when you said you wanted to have a brief history,
Yeah.
I'm
That's
totally
not bad.
against that theme of brief history.
That's not the brief history that, okay,
If you want open minds to start again,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
what I'm hoping we're
yeah,
doing.
okay.
I want farmers to feel that they're not competing against some monolith that's already here that's running things. I want them to come in and say, this is wonderful, you know, boy, maybe we could do this.
But to pick up on your theme, if I've understood it correctly, Mark, if 8 or 10 farmers wanted to work together in a co-op and do that very thing, in which the county is not involved, now you've got a private sector doing it, then good luck, go with God. Is that basically what you're
The
saying?
delegation has embraced that idea in the past.
Yeah, okay,
But what we've been told in the past, that no one's coming forward, no one wants to
Yeah.
do it.
yeah.
So if no one's coming forward and wanting to do it, then let's keep doing what we're doing.
I-
That's, we
Yeah.
need to embrace the
Yeah.
farmers,
Yeah.
the foresters. We
Yeah.
need to embrace them and say to them,
Yeah.
here is truly an opportunity to have input if you want and to be a part of this. And that's what I'm hoping will come out of this.
Because there are small, and again, I know farming again, but there are lots of small farmers in this area that if they knew they had an opportunity to work this land, would be here in a second. There's lots of people,
But there are buts with that.
I know where you're headed.
And
That's
we-
just a small portion, I know. But if you could make that small portion work, that would open so many doors to the rest of it. People would say,
I
oh, look at what they're doing here.
We've got a field down back here that we can't hay, and we were going to just free lease it this year. And what happened were people were interested, but as Mark pointed out, there were restrictions.
Right,
There's
the
no
I read
water,
the-
there's
I
no
read the restrictions,
fence,
yeah.
there's no, you know, so those are things you have to come up with. Well, you can't, what people told me was, like, we can't just do it now, we need to plan.
Right.
You know,
Oh, I
maybe
agree.
we'll do it next year. Couldn't you please put up a fence? A fence would be a big,
Could you give me a hose with a bucket?
you know, so these
That's it.
are things that,
But if we were to hear those things, and we were to hear, well, maybe that wasn't the right place. Maybe if runoff from our reservoir was the right place to do it, and a pipe was leading, yeah, that's not a big deal.
Right.
But what I have heard from a few farmers was, my God, I can't spend that kind of money to make that improvement for that. And then I can only put 1 or 2 things in there. So we need to be open-minded about it, look at that. We didn't go anywhere with that proposal, why didn't we go anywhere with that proposal? And do it so other people can work.
Well, and you were right, that was the reason why, I read the article too, and my eyebrows went up when I saw it, and then all the restrictions, there was no way a small farmer like myself could do that. But if you sort of let the walls down a little bit and make it a little looser control from the county, and, which brings me to a point, and I know I'm getting off topic again, I'm sorry, but is there, I know you have the commissioners and the delegation, but is there something in the future maybe where you could have a group like this that would oversee the 894 acres, and then that would report to the commissioners and the delegation and say, this is what we have coming to us for someone wanting to do this. We think it's a good idea, what do you think? Or is that something that people would just come to you or the delegation and say, this is what I want to do? You know,
that's a new thought.
I think it could be opened up, but it ultimately has to come back through the commission.
right,
And
exactly.
then if it needs funding, then it has to come back to the delegation.
Delegation.
Let me-
But
And our
if you
our
had,
perfect example down here, and we look at the big thing, maybe that wasn't the right place to try the
Yeah,
first lease.
yeah.
Maybe it's
Yeah.
somewhere that has water.
Yeah,
Right.
let me just get back here, back on topic. We've been talking about this article and so forth, and trying to lay out some guidelines. Mark has brought up some good points here as far as the delegation's thinking of this.
But
Should
that
we-
really shouldn't influence us. Any more
Well,
the commission is
no, but-
thinking
no, but-
should influence
No,
us.
but what I'm going
On
is,
this.
if, I think Mark has made some good points here. And if all of a sudden people out there are saying, well, we think the county should do this and the county should do that. And Mark is sitting there thinking, well, you know, based on the past experience, I'm just not sure this is the road that we're ready to travel at this point in time. In the article, should we kind of define some of this stuff? And if we do, how do we do it? I mean, we're open for input, but if people say, well, it's gonna do this and it's gonna do that, and we're sitting there, and Mark is sitting there saying, I can tell you right now, that is just not
No,
going to
that's,
happen.
that's not for me to do with this listening session. These listening sessions,
Yes.
it's for me to listen.
Okay, all right.
Let people say whatever they want to say.
Yeah, the less talking you do, the better, I think
You
the
know
session
what,
will
you
go.
know what I'm gonna be thinking.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say it, let the people come, have their say. But just don't steer them that, it's,
Yeah, again,
Mother Russia's not gonna run this property. Let's just get it right out, so, let's hear the ideas.
other than that, we're open.
Yeah, we're open.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we should all keep an open mind.
Oh,
Well,
without
no,
question.
and I'm not saying we shouldn't, I'm not saying that we, but by the same token, if a group of people that each session is saying, well, we think the county should get back into this and the county should be doing that, and I can remember back when it was a successful operation and so forth, and why can't it be now? And we're sitting there, and we're not saying, well, that's crazy, that's never going to happen, but by the same token, we're thinking, okay, thinking to ourselves, this is not going to happen, because there's too much of a history here of that having not worked.
That's not true. It may be that it's not going to happen if the county runs it, but that doesn't mean that some other entity
Yes, no,
couldn't.
no. Sandy, I agree with that. But if, I think us sitting here, knowing what we know now, it seems unlikely that the county would be willing to pick up and incur the cost and so forth to start that again. But that does not mean that 8 or 10 people or a dozen farmers forming a co-op, and now it's theirs to do, that the county would step back and say, go, this is great, go for it. But we're talking different senses of ownership here.
That's correct. But
What am I missing?
I don't think
No,
you're missing anything.
We're
I
there.
think we're all on the same page, we're
Yeah.
just talking
Okay, all right.
different,
Some of it
Okay,
gets down
top
to
or the bottom.
details.
yes,
Like
Well-
length of the lease,
Yeah.
is 5 or 10 years is better than a 1 or 2.
yeah, okay.
But I
You
don't-
listen to the people that
Yeah.
tell you that.
Yes,
Yeah, you
yes,
gotta,
That's-
you
yes.
gotta. And if it comes out that at these listening sessions, this is why we have to keep the data, that a lot of people say, this is what we think we'd like to see, then that's when you start
That's what
looking
the
to
lease,
see.
that's what they're all about.
That's right.
Yeah,
And how much of a resource could that be for the county,
Oh, wow.
you know? You saw, did you get a chance to read that article that I forwarded to Steve?
I did forward it,
you did forward it.
yeah.
It's something I ran across yesterday, I think.
No, I didn't get to read it. It came
Okay.
yesterday.
You were out haying, you were out haying.
I think it came this, he might have sent it out today,
I think I did send it out this morning.
yeah.
I had something else I was worried about.
Okay.
It's about how buying local helps the local economy.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
You're preaching to the choir.
I know. But this has some data in terms of numbers, about how much of an impact it has in the local economy. Direct versus wholesale, how the money circulates through. This is based on a study done in the Bay Area, I think. Sacramento,
Close by.
yeah. Yeah. Just, and it wouldn't be competing with local farms because it would be local farms or local group.
I don't disagree.
Yeah.
And that's the direction the delegation has been trying to shuttle this to.
Mark, I will tell you, I talked with a small farmer that I know, because I've talked with 2 or 3 people just about get their top of the head ideas. And this particular farmer says, don't sell it, farm it. And she said, that person felt that it would not be attractive for them to come and farm on this property unless there was certain of the infrastructure that was available, like water, and
Fencing.
not necessarily fencing, because you can do a lot with portable fencing. This is a produce producer. Some of the cold storage, which gets back to that other issue we've had for the old nursing home. That's all I'm saying, is that that's what that one person said.
Well, you know, again, I mean, these stories are great as we try to get a sense of what's going on here. But Tempest Fugit, and we've got to finish.
How long
some-
should the article be?
I don't think it should be that long. Define long or short. But if you know, if it's half a page or something, I'm not sure if people will read it.
Well, I think they will.
I think they will.
I think they will.
Sure.
Okay.
I think this is something that, if Damon's your guy, you should call Damon and say, look, we're doing this is what we're gonna do. Will you be willing to come talk to me about this and put an article in the paper before our listening sessions?
Yeah.
And then let him sit down with you. You know, you have all of our input, you know where we're headed here. And just have him talk to you and you say, look, this is what we want, this is what we're looking for from the public, this is what we're trying to educate the public on, this is the direction, we're trying to take a very broad direction instead of a narrow direction, and all input is happily accepted.
And please ask him not to say county farm, say county agricultural lands.
Okay. Okay.
That's my only ask.
Mm-hmm.
I might do the same thing with Melissa for the,
Yeah, same thing.
do you know if she writes for both the Granite State and the Carroll County?
I believe so, but I'm not positive. But it's their sister publication, so I'm sure there's plenty of things that go
Yeah,
between the
yeah.
two.
And it's the same, if you do the radio thing, it's the same thing there.
Well, we haven't talked about the, do we feel we beat this article sufficiently to death that it's
Okay.
encompassing we want? Okay, then let's move on to the radio. Because again, don't we want the radio to basically touch the same highlights
Yeah,
as
just
what we're
bullet
doing
points.
this? It's just now getting out there verbiage rather than.
Yeah, just
than-
hit the bullet points,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
And then we're having the listening session for all the people in the
Right.
county
Yep.
that own the county farm,
Yep.
the county agricultural
Okay.
lands.
And then you also
Okay.
send that to the community calendar on Channel 3 out of the,
Mm-hmm.
and they will advertise that for a week or two.
That I can do.
All 3 listening sessions on Channel 3.
You'll do that, the community calendar? Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
just be aware that my video for the county commissioners meetings gets handed over to Channel 3. I don't know if you have an agreement with them, perhaps it could be more or different meetings that could be for Channel 3.
okay,
You're
all
talking about a
right.
cable channel.
Who would I want
Yes.
to talk to up there on that? Is
Jim
it Bill
Miller.
Edmonds?
Jim
Jim Miller's, Jim Miller's Channel 3 in Wakefield. Channel 3 in Conway is.
Is it Bill Edmonds?
Bob Edmonds?
Edmonds.
Bob Edmonds?
Bill.
I think it's Bill
It's
Edmonds.
Bill Edmonds.
Okay, all right. And run that by me again, and just, what is it? You have some sort of a licensing agreement with them that, see if we could expand this?
Well, I send them the county commissioners meeting.
Okay, see if we could
So,
send these meetings and so forth in the listening section?
not all of them, maybe just a public service announcement.
Yeah, okay,
or
okay,
something.
okay.
It could be anything.
Okay,
Do you do that with Jim Miller also?
Well, your commissioner meetings go down to Jim Miller in Channel 3 in Wakefield too.
okay,
But we still should contact Channel 3
Yeah.
in both North and Wakefield
Mhm.
and ask them to put it on as a.
I'll give, thank you, Ed, I'll give him a call, see if I can't sit down with him on that.
And
Okay.
Jim Miller is the one that operates the Wakefield channel. He would certainly want to sit down with anity and interview, so
Yeah.
they do this, they interview.
Yeah,
That'd be good for
Okay.
you to do.
okay.
You're gonna be busy.
Yeah.
I got hate put in.
Okay, well, we haven't decided who's gonna be doing the radio interviews.
No, it's you.
It's gonna be me.
Oh, I thought we should, yeah, chairman.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, all
It's your
right.
job.
Okay, that's what they pay me the big bucks
Right.
for.
Just briefly, Steve, who's the other contact for Channel 3 in?
It's Bill Edmonds, I believe, in Conway, Channel 3 up there, yeah.
Well, 107 has expanded their market tremendously. I mean, I hear it now all the way over to Bristol and back through, so.
Now, who's 107, is that?
It's AM, Is that 107
That's
AM?
Wolfboro WSR.
I think so, but
Okay.
now they have a much
That's
bigger,
Leo's.
Okay.
bigger reach, and they do Wolfboro news, Ossipee area news, and something else. And I'm listening in my machine, the same thing time after time. If we can get on their announcement list, it'll get told 100 times a day. And that's the sort of thing that they like to highlight, so. You know, something short and brief, you know, the listening
Are you
session
going
on this
to be
day.
able to contact all these?
I'm sorry.
Are you going to be able to contact all these people?
He's got nothing else to do.
All of them? Okay, who's?
WASI.
But that's Lino.
When you say all these people, we're talking about the radio and Bill Edmonds? Okay, and Susan is gonna be getting in touch with the community announcements, and that's Channel 3?
Jim Muller.
Yeah, okay. And I will get in touch with Bill Edmonds.
You want to contact,
And I'll connect, and also get in touch with the Comeau radio station and the, the Wolfboro radio station. Maybe I'll get in touch with Lino on that, because I think he owns that.
He's one of
He
those.
does.
Yeah, so I will get in
oh,
touch
you
with.
want to do it ASAP?
Yeah.
Wakefield has a Facebook type group.
Was that
Do
1,400 plus?
do other towns have those Facebook pages, information centers?
I posted all of the other meetings you had, the farm committee meetings, I put on the Priscilla Hill ads.
Okay,
Yes, I already did that.
Okay, thank you.
so will you take care of this one? Do you want me to
Okay.
contact
So
Priscilla?
I'm gonna do my normal job, which is to post what happens here on that
So why
page.
don't you do it anyways, and then they'll get a double dose?
But I would advise to have me do a personal invite by the chairman and put that all over Facebook. That's what I'm saying, if you do a small 2-minute little ad for what you're doing on Facebook, and you'll see the chairman's face scrolling up and down through Facebook, you knocking on the glass, turn your sound up, and then you can talk about it. They'll watch it.
We'll have to talk about that, okay? We'll get together on that. You obviously are light years ahead of me.
Well, and you might use that map I had, that paper
Yeah.
map, and say,
Exactly.
this is yours, come tell us what to do with it.
That's right.
You know,
I can get something put into the Tamworth Exchange.
Okay, all right, that's good.
and Moultonborough has a, Moultonborough Speaks, is that what it's called? The man that ran for representative. What was it? Moultonborough.
I know who you're talking about, I don't know if that's still active or not active, or, I think you've hit some pretty large markets there already.
Yeah. I think we've got the county pretty much covered.
Yeah, because the Exchange
Exchange goes to a huge
Yeah.
number.
goes a huge number of sandwich,
Yeah.
you know, we've got people all over,
Yeah.
some people from Florida.
Okay, well, we put the thing on Facebook, we'll just say, please share.
Okay.
And then it'll go all over the country, and we'll have people from Alaska come in.
That's right. People from San Francisco book their flight. Okay. We've covered a lot of ground here, and one of the questions that comes to my mind is with all the assignments and putting all this together, do you think we should meet next week? Just to really kind of wrap this stuff up. We've got a lot of loose stuff here, and I want to be sure that we've got it all nailed down as to, okay, everybody has a clear understanding. So are we comfortable with meeting next week?
For an hour?
An hour, okay. Just
Really?
wrap it up. No.
There's no way we're doing it an
We're gonna
hour.
have to stay on target
Right.
here.
Well, we're pretty good, because we limited it to
Okay.
2, so if we limit it to an hour,
All
what
right.
day would you like to do this?
Well, can we do it next Friday, the 8th? Is everything available then? Would
We
be able
can
to
go
use the-
back over to the
Okay,
other-
okay, all right.
I believe. The auditors, I think, are done today.
And I believe the book name you were looking for, my contacts tell me it might be etched in granite.
No,
That's not it?
that's about the Papa Cemetery.
That's Pettingill's.
Okay. All right,
So
let's,
the 8th from 3 to 4?
3 to 4. Okay, this is just a wrap up. Okay, I want to just move on to a couple of other things. I want to give you a funding update.
Oh, good.
I did talk with Bev Mason at USDA. She was very interested. What she did say, as I had imagined, is their funding cycle has ended for this fiscal year. So like the New Hampshire Charitable Foundation
Right.
is we're gonna be going into the government's new fiscal year before but she was very intrigued, and what she said, and when I ran into her this morning down in Wolfboro, she said, we're pursuing a couple of opportunities. But I also had a chance down there this morning to talk with Chuck Henderson, who's Senator Gene Shaheen's North Country person. And I told him what we're trying to do, and he said, I'm not sure that we can help you. He said, come over, I want you to meet Rick Ellsmore. So I went over and I talked with him, and they laid out what we're doing and so forth, and he says, I think we can help you.
Oh, good.
Where's
So-
he from?
Pardon me?
You told me
Yes.
where's he from?
I think I got his card, hold on just a second, I can tell you.
Osmer, isn't he USDA?
He is USDA,
Yeah.
yes, I
And
think
our-
he's in Dover.
NRCS?
Could be, I'm sorry.
I can't remember.
It's in Dover. And I told him, I said, I'd be in touch
But
with
is
you.
that NRCS?
It's USDA. There
Yeah,
you go.
but which?
And he says, I think I can help you. Now, the point is, if everybody who says we can help you come through, we could have about $25,000 to $30,000 already towards the feasibility study.
It's NRCS and also he's a state.
And,
Yeah, I know he's a state
so-
conservationist. It is NRCS.
Yeah, so, but he says yes.
We'd have to go through the Conway office.
So,
Nels is good.
so anyway, so I think as far as the funding goes, at this point in time, it's looking very encouraging, very promising. So we will see, and
So that means we would have to encumber the money.
the
that-
10,000, and I discussed this with Ken, and he says, and I think Lino also said, all we do is we just write an invoice to basically encumber the funds to make sure that they carry forward into the next year. Because I did not think, when they were talking about that you just don't sit down and send in an application, an RFP, and you sit down and write a check. There's a process here, there's a cycle. And Peter Benson of the Chow Foundation confirmed that. Bev Mason with USDA confirmed that. And I think probably Rick Ellsmore will also confirm that, saying this is, so it's very possible that we may finish our task here, by the end of the year, and now we're just kind of sitting around waiting for the funding to start to kick in. And I think that could be a very realistic likelihood.
But we can still write the RFP and.
Oh, yes, yes.
Possibly send it out with the,
Yes, but as
funding
others have said, Rose Wilson and others have said, whoever is going to consider this RFP, they want to guarantee they're going to be paid. And before they even start the work at all, they're going to say, I want to see the color of your money. And I can readily understand that. They have probably been stiffed in the past. We want to be sure that we've got that money right here.
Depending on the type of work it is, NRCS funding is often a lot easier to get, depending on the type of work.
Yes. And I had just to follow up on that, Sandy. I had just a very brief conversation with Rick. Very, very brief. It was just not the place or the time to sit down and discuss this. But he kind of hinted that he said, yes, I think I can help you. We've basically worked with projects like this before. He says, I think this is very doable. So, and he did not talk about a timing schedule, or anything. I think we can help you. So again, I'm going on that basis that he might be able to do that.
Yeah, you need to talk with Nels and Rick in more detail.
Oh, I will.
Yeah.
Yeah, but as I said, I just wanted to give you an update at this point in time. While no one has said, don't worry, the money's there. They certainly have indicated via emails. I like it in emails, not verbal. That, yes, we think there's going to be some funding there. And as we know, to put the thing in context, when we had talked with Rosalie Wilson, and I had given you back in January, I think the commissioners, her just rough outline of what could be involved. Right. And she said, based on what you've told me now, and that can change dramatically, but we're looking at probably about $27,000. And she gave almost an hour by hour as to what would be covered in that. So that is probably a fairly decent ballpark figure to go on, unless all of a sudden we expand the feasibility study dramatically. But she knew it was going to be a pretty broad feasibility study to begin with. So anyway, so does anybody have any other comments, ideas, anything else that you want to discuss? Have we sufficiently covered the whole public relations thing as far as the articles, the radio, the listening session, the message, and realizing that, again, it's got to be constant. Whatever we whoever we talk with or to, the message has got to be constant. It's got to be the same.
Just a clarification.
Yeah.
Before the 16th of September, are we going to get a tour of the area?
I will do my best to have it done next Friday.
Would that be something we could do
On next
on
Friday, the 8th, that's what she
Could we
did.
do that on the 8th?
Yeah.
That's what I was just going to
That
say.
would be good.
Yeah.
Then it wouldn't be an hour meeting, it'd probably be a 2-hour.
Yeah.
But I
Well,
think
yeah.
that after we get done our
Right,
meeting.
exactly.
Yeah,
And I'll just have to.
okay, all
I
right.
don't know what fair is next weekend. Hopkinton's this weekend.
Lancaster
I
this
don't know.
weekend?
I think next weekend is not a fair. So,
No, I don't think there is either.
That'd be good.
Does anybody have anything else? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I want to thank you all very much.
Sorry, who seconded that?